Chapter 12, The First Accident. The first time. It almost looked like nothing. The simulation chamber sealed behind them with a low, hydraulic hiss. Inside, the environment initialized instantly. Jagged terrain formed beneath their feet, fractured stone plates layered unevenly across the ground, steep inclines breaking into narrow passageways, loose debris scattered across unstable surfaces. Overhead, a reinforced ceiling simulated a dense rock structure, complete with stress fractures and fault lines. A standard rockfall scenario. Unstable terrain. Controlled collapse zones. Predictable failure points. The kind of test designed to teach movement under pressure. The kind of test Artemis had already adapted to. The timer began. Artemis moved. No hesitation. No wasted motion. Each step placed with intent, weight distributed evenly, center of gravity low enough to adjust without losing balance. He didn't rush ahead of the terrain, he read it, let it reveal its weaknesses before committing to movement. Around him, other trainees pushed harder. Some moved too fast, triggering minor collapses early. Others hesitated, losing time. Artemis stayed between. Efficient. Controlled. Unnoticed. Exactly where he preferred to be. The first shift in the environment was normal. A tremor beneath the surface. Subtle. Simulated. Warning of an incoming collapse. Artemis adjusted his path accordingly, redirecting slightly to avoid a predicted failure zone. Then, the system flickered. Not visibly. Not dramatically. Just a moment. A fraction of a second where something didn't align. The terrain data stuttered. The fracture lines shifted. Artemis felt it more than saw it. His movement paused. Just long enough to register. Something was wrong. Then the ceiling came down. Not a controlled collapse. Not a simulation-triggered event. Real. Heavy. Fast. The reinforced plating above fractured without sequence, sections breaking free all at once instead of in staggered progression. Too much. Too sudden. No warning indicators. No system delay. Just impact. Artemis moved before the sound fully reached him. A forward roll, low, tight, precise, carrying his momentum through the only open path ahead. Behind him, the ceiling slammed into the ground. Stone shattered. Metal supports snapped. The shockwave hit a fraction of a second later, driving dust and debris outward in a violent burst. Fragments struck the ground where he had been standing. Where he should have been standing. Where the simulation had expected him to be. The chamber filled with dust. Visibility dropped instantly. The environment froze. Then, alarms. Simulation failure. Structural breach detected. Emergency override engaged. The doors unsealed. Instructors rushed in immediately, 2, then 4, then more. Their movements were fast, coordinated, practiced. They weren't surprised. But they weren't calm either. One of them moved directly to Artemis. Status. Uninjured, Artemis replied. His breathing was steady. His posture unchanged. No visible sign of what had just happened. The instructor nodded once, then turned toward the collapsed section. System failure, they said. Rare, but it happens. Rare. But it happens. Artemis didn't respond. Didn't question. Didn't argue. He just looked. At the collapsed section. At the debris pattern. At the angle of the break. Then. At the control panel mounted along the chamber wall. Still active. Still running. Still logging. His eyes narrowed slightly. The timing. The collapse hadn't followed simulation parameters. It hadn't matched the terrain stress indicators. It hadn't aligned with the system's predictive model. It had happened at the exact moment he entered the most vulnerable position in the chamber. Perfect. Too perfect. He said nothing. Because he didn't need to. Not yet. The second accident came 3 days later. By then, Artemis had already adjusted. Not outwardly. Not enough for anyone else to notice. But internally. Every movement had sharpened. Every system interaction double-checked. Every environment treated as if it could turn at any moment. Because now, he was watching back. The atmospheric training chamber activated around him. Low oxygen environment. Controlled pressure variance. Suit calibration test. The objective was simple: maintain stability under declining atmospheric support. Most trainees relied on the suit. Trusted the system. Adjusted when prompted. Artemis didn't. He monitored everything. Breath rate. Oxygen flow. Pressure feedback. Microfluctuations in the regulator system. He adjusted early. Before the system told him to. Before it needed to. Then. The oxygen feed dropped. Not gradually. Not as part of the test curve. Rapidly. A sharp decline that bypassed normal system thresholds. Warning signals triggered immediately. Oxygen level critical. Regulator failure detected. Around him, the environment didn't change. The simulation continued. Because the system didn't recognize what was happening. Or it wasn't supposed to. Artemis didn't hesitate. Didn't wait for override protocols. He tore the regulator off in one motion, disconnecting it from the suit interface before the system could lock it in place. His hands moved fast. Faster than panic. Because there was no panic. Just action. He rerouted the flow manually, bypassing the corrupted regulator and forcing oxygen through a secondary line not meant for primary use. The connection resisted. Then gave. Air returned. Sharp. Thin. But enough. His breathing stabilized. His vision cleared. The warnings faded. The system recalibrated. Too late. But not useless. It registered recovery. Logged survival. Continued the simulation like nothing had happened. Artemis stood still for a moment. Not recovering. Assessing. The failure hadn't been random. It hadn't followed degradation patterns. It had been targeted. Precise. Timed. This time. He knew. The recovery cycle ended without incident. The system logged completion. No official acknowledgement of failure. No extended review. Just another test. Another result. Another day. But Artemis didn't forget. Because now, there were two. Nova found him later that night. Not by chance. She had been looking. The lower corridor outside the training sector was quiet, the hum of the arc distant, contained. Artemis stood near a viewport slit, narrow, reinforced, barely large enough to see the stars beyond. He didn't turn when she approached. "You're being targeted," Nova said. No hesitation. No build-up. Just the truth. Artemis nodded once. Yes. Rian arrived moments later, his steps faster than usual, his composure thinner than he wanted it to be. He looked between them. "You felt it too," he said. Not a question. A confirmation. Artemis turned slightly, just enough to face them both. "They adjusted the environment," he said. "Both times." Rian shook his head, tension breaking through. They're trying to kill you. Artemis's expression didn't change. Didn't harden. Didn't shift. It stayed exactly as it had been. Calm. Controlled. Certain. Not trying. Nova frowned slightly. Then what? Artemis looked at them. Then past them. Toward the training sector. Toward the systems. Toward whatever was watching from behind them. Testing. The word settled between them. Worse than Rian's conclusion. More dangerous. Because it meant intent. It meant control. It meant whoever was behind this wasn't guessing. Wasn't failing. They were measuring. Rian let out a breath that didn't quite steady him. That's not better. No, Nova said quietly. It's not. Artemis turned back toward the viewport. The stars beyond remained unchanged. Cold. Distant. Unmoving. But something had shifted again. Not in the arc. Not in the system. In the game being played around him. He wasn't just uncovering the truth anymore. He was part of it. And somewhere, someone was watching to see if he would survive it. This ends chapter 12 of Artemis. If you enjoyed this, please like, comment, and subscribe for more to support the channel.